In 1969, Yu was given an impossible assignment: cure malaria. She was 39 years old, a researcher at Beijing's Academy of Traditional Chinese Medicine. She had no doctorate. She had never studied abroad. She had never published in an international journal. And China was in the grip of the Cultural Revolution, a period when intellectuals were sent to re-education camps, when scientific research was viewed with suspicion, when her own husband had been exiled for the crime of being an academic. But soldiers were dying. Across Southeast Asia, malaria was killing more troops than combat. North Vietnam had begged China for help. Chairman Mao himself had ordered the creation of a secret military research program, Project 523, to find a cure. Yu was appointed to lead one of the research teams. The task seemed hopeless. Scientists around the world had already tested over 240,000 compounds. Nothing worked. The malaria parasite had developed resistance to every drug thrown at it. Tu took a different approach. If modern science had failed, perhaps ancient wisdom held the answer. She began searching through centuries of Chinese medical texts, thousands of recipes, remedies, and prescriptions passed down through dynasties. She traveled across China, interviewing traditional medicine practitioners, documenting their knowledge in a notebook. She titled a collection of single practical prescriptions for By 1971, her team had screened over 2,000 traditional recipes and prepared 380 herbal extracts. They tested them one by one on malaria-infected mice. Most failed completely. A few showed promise. One herb kept appearing in the ancient texts: Qinghao sweet wormwood. It had been used for centuries to treat fevers. Tu's team extracted compounds from the plant and tested them. The results were inconsistent. Sometimes the extract killed the malaria parasites. Sometimes it did nothing at all. Something was wrong. Tu went back to the ancient texts. She read and reread every reference to Qinghao she could find. And then, in a 1,600-year-old manuscript called a Handbook of Prescriptions for Emergencies, written by a physician named Ji Hong around 348, she found a single sentence that changed everything. A handful of Qinghao immersed in 2 liters of water. Wring out the juice and drink it all. Tu stared at the passage. Cold water. Wringing out the juice. Her team had been boiling the wormwood to extract its compound, standard laboratory procedure. But Jie Hong's prescription described something different. He was steeping the herb in cold water and squeezing out the liquid. What if the heat was destroying the very compound they were searching for? To redesigned the extraction process. Instead of boiling water, she used ether, a solvent that evaporates at low temperatures, preserving the plant's delicate chemistry. On October 4, 1971, she tested the new extract on malaria-infected mice. 100% effective. Every parasite destroyed. She tested it on monkeys. Same result. Now came the hardest decision of her life. There were no clinical trial facilities in China during the Cultural Revolution. No formal safety protocols. No way to test whether the extract would harm humans. But the war continued, and soldiers kept dying. Tu volunteered to be the first human test subject. As head of this research group, I had the responsibility, she later said. She and 2 colleagues took the extract themselves, monitoring each other for adverse effects. They experienced no serious harm. Only then did they proceed to test it on malaria patients. In August 1972, Tu traveled to Hainan province with her team. They administered the extract to 21 patients suffering from malaria. All of them by 1972. Tu's team had isolated the active compound and named it Qinghao Sinone, in English as Artemisia. Further research revealed that artemisinin worked by attacking the malaria parasite at an early stage of its life cycle, killing it before it could multiply. It was the most effective anti-malarial compound ever discovered. But Jiaoyu would wait decades for recognition. China's isolation during the Cultural Revolution meant her discovery remained unknown to the outside world. She was forced to publish her findings anonymously. In 1977, the collectivist ethos of the era demanded that no individual take credit. Her work finally reached international audiences in the early 1980s. Even then, recognition came slowly. The World Health Organization did recommend artemisinin-based therapies as the first-line treatment for malaria. Until 2001, nearly 30 years after 2's breakthrough. Meanwhile, the drug was saving lives. In sub-Saharan Africa, where malaria once killed a child every 60 seconds, mortality rates plummeted. Deaths by more than 20%. Worldwide, more than 30% in children. In Africa alone, over 100,000 lives are saved every year. More than 200 million malaria patients have been treated with Artemis. The Lasker Foundation called it arguably the most important pharmaceutical intervention in the last half-century. In 2015, 43 years after she first tested the extract on herself, Jiaoyu was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. She was 84 years old. She became the first Chinese scientist to win a Nobel Prize in a scientific category for research conducted in China. The first Chinese woman to win a Nobel Prize in any category. And she did it without a medical degree, without a doctorate, without ever studying abroad. Without scientist, in a world that often measures worth by credentials. At her Nobel lecture, titled her speech, Discovery of Artemisinin, a gift from traditional Chinese medicine to the world, she deflected praise to her colleagues, the ancient physicians whose wisdom had guided her. The herb that had been hiding a miracle for 1,600 years. I do not want fame, she said. But what she gave the world is worth more than fame. She gave millions of mothers the chance to watch their children grow up. She gave entire communities freedom from a disease that had haunted humanity for 50,000 years. She proved that the wisdom of the past could unlock solutions to the deadliest problems of the present. All because she read an ancient text carefully and noticed that Ji Hong had written cold water, not boiling.